Hey there, guys. AEW ratings have been horrible recently. And I'm mainly about Collision and Rampage. Dynamite isn't so bad. Yet Dynamite is still nothing very impressive. And unfortunately, these ratings being so low, it's gonna affect wrestling as a whole, in my opinion. Because if WWE has competition with AEW, because AEW, they have the talent on their roster to be major competition against WWE. Because they have done it before. They were arguably better than WWE for a little bit, but now they are just not even close. But whenever you have competition, it pushes them to be at their best. When AEW started doing good, WWE started elevating because they knew, oh, I have competition in town. I have to stay as the number one brand, and so I have to be at my absolute best. That's what happened when it was the WCW versus WWE, or WWF. WWE had so much competition with WCW that they both pushed to have an absolute great product, and now that's known as probably the greatest time in wrestling. So when I get into these ratings, if you see me talking down on AEW, I definitely do not want them to have a bad product. I want AEW to succeed at major levels. I want them to have an absolutely banger show every single week. But unfortunately, they're just not doing that. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat it and act like it's a good show when it's not. Let's take a look at these Rampage ratings. And in my opinion, Rampage is the worst product of wrestling when it comes to these bigger companies, such as Impact, WWE, and all the different shows. Rampage is the worst. Of course, it's only 1 hour, but this says Friday night's episode of AEW Rampage on TNT pulled in 280,000 total viewers. And if you're not good when it comes to the numbers with ratings, that's absolutely horrible. As an example, we know that NXT is known as, the quote-unquote developmental brand, even though I think they have the best product of wrestling going on right now. That's my biasness. They're known as the developmental brand. And since that's the developing stars, I guess you could say not as much known stars, you'd think they had the lower score. No, they're getting 700,000. While AEW Rampage is getting 280,000. And Rampage is not a developmental brand. But for Rampage, honestly, I think the problem with Rampage is, honestly, I don't know what else to say. The product is horrible. The problem with AEW Rampage is that the product of AEW Rampage is not good. It's not a must-watch. Nothing special ever happens on AEW Rampage. It's not like you miss Rampage and you're going to have to go read back on all the spoilers. No, nobody cares about what happens on Rampage because nothing special ever happens. So it's one of those shows that oh, I missed it, don't really care. It's not like I'm going to be behind on anything. While on the other hand, if you miss Monday Night Raw, you just figured out that Randy Orton is on the team of the Faces for Survivor Series. And you missed that. Or if you're talking about the week before on Monday Night Raw, you missed Drew McIntyre's heel turn. So they make it to where you have to watch it because you know something good is going to happen. And Rampage, ever so often they'll have a good match on there. But it never leads to any good storyline, so you still didn't miss anything. So overall, Rampage fails horribly at making it meaningful. Now it's time for the disappointment show of the week. This is AEW Collision. They got 270,000 viewers on TNT. Keep in mind, this is not one of those 1 hour shows. This is a full 2 hour show, just as long as SmackDown, just as long as Dynamite. So that means that their viewership should be up there with SmackDown and and Dynamite. But it is far from that. And honestly, the problem with Collision, I didn't even watch it. Honestly, I forget about Rampage. That's how irrelevant Rampage is, in my opinion. I forget about it. All the time, I forget about it. Every so often, I'll turn it on, but I will forget about it. And when I do turn it on, it's boring. And Collision is more entertaining. Yet on Saturdays, I believe what's holding it back is the time frame. It is 8 to 10 on Saturdays, which 8 to 10 is a great time. That's usually when all wrestling is playing, like SmackDown and Dynamite. But it's on a Saturday, and you know what's going on there, and that's college football. A lot of wrestling fans aren't just wrestling fans, they're fans of football too. I'm one of those. Although I would pick wrestling over football, there are many that are wrestling fans and football fans that would pick football over wrestling. And the NCAA games, they have games playing at the same exact time as Collision, and I just think a lot of the reason of the bad viewership is because people are watching football. Nobody wants to watch Collision whenever they have these amazing games going on, and Collision just hasn't been the best show. It just kind of seems like it's just there. Collision's just there. It's not a must. It's kind of like Rampage. It's not a must watch. Although sometimes those shows are good. So here is kind of my video talking about AEW ratings and why I think they're bad. Rampage, because the show is not good, and for Collision, NCAA football. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope these ratings skyrocket. I hope these ratings hit all-time highs. I hope AEW can have a great product going. But right now, unfortunately, that's not how it is. So I will see you guys on the next one.